Hey, it's Reid with the Craig McKenzie team, and I want to talk to you a little bit today about what's going on with the housing market. There's a lot of concern going on with the COVID-19 crisis and how it's affecting our economy. We're seeing lots of people are losing their jobs. Last time I think we're getting up to 20 million people have filed for unemployment. It's a big deal. It's really devastating our economy, not to mention all the lives that are being lost. So, how is this affecting real estate? Well, what we compare this to for a lot of people is the Great Recession in 2008, where lots of people lost their homes, lost their jobs, and it was hugely devastating to people. So, I don't have a crystal ball to be able to tell what's going to happen in the future. So, the best thing I can do is go back and look at the statistics from the past and see where things compare, how they compare to what happened during the recession. There are several things I'm going to discuss. Um, Different parts, things that affected us during the recession was the rate of appreciation in people's real estate, how easy it was to get credit, to get a mortgage, the number of homes for sale, the use of equity, and the total amount of home equity that people had. So those 5 items had a lot to do with the Great Recession. And let's take a look at how they're affecting us today. If we start off with appreciation, you can see that on this chart, there's a big difference between the 6 years prior to the housing crash and the most recent 6-year time period. In fact, even the highest level of appreciation in the most recent years is still below the lowest level leading up to the crash. Prices have been rising, but not at the rate they were back then. So our housing values have not been racing up like they were. The other thing that we want to talk about is mortgage credit availability. So the Mortgage Credit Availability Index is a monthly measurement that the Mortgage Bankers Association uses to gauge the level of difficulty in securing a loan. The higher the index, the easier it is to get a loan. The lower it is, the more difficult it is to get a loan. You can see that back in 2006, 2007, it was extremely easy to get a loan. And that was caused a lot of the problem that we had in that recession. So after the crash, they tightened up standards, and you can see that today our score is only 152. That's way less than 868. The next thing we want to look at is the number of homes for sale. So during the crash and after the crash, we had a huge oversupply of inventory. There was tons of home construction going on. Housing values were shooting up. That appreciation was going up so fast that everybody was building houses because it was like a cash cow. And this is our monthly inventory, months of inventory. So the way we calculate months of inventory is you take how many homes are for sale and divide it by how many homes are selling each month. So if no new homes came up for sale, how long would it take for us to run out of inventory? And you can see that back during the Great Recession and the before the crash, we had up to a year's worth of inventory. So somewhere in that 6 to 7 month range is what's considered a neutral market. So it's not a buyer's market. You're not getting great deals, but it's not a seller's market where the sellers kind of have more control over what's going on. So you can see where we stood back then, and now you can see that we are nationally at around a little over 3 months of inventory, 3 to 4 months of inventory. Yet here on Whidbey Island, we are down to about 1.1 months of inventory. So it's still a very tight market. There's not a lot of houses for sale, and that is a serious factor when we look at what's going to happen with our real estate market. And then next, we talk about home equity. So people built up their equity in their homes, And before the crash, you can see in these numbers on the left side that people were cashing out. They were taking money out of their equity to buy new cars, to take vacation, because it was easy. They had all this money. They bought a house. It went up so much, it seemed like free money, and the banks were more than willing to lend you the money. So you can see that in those 3 years leading up to the crash, 824 billion with a B was taken out in equity cash out. Whereas in the last 3 years, you can see that total is only 232 billion. That's less than a third of the amount of money cashed out before the Great Recession. And then lastly, we want to look at equity. How much equity do people have in their homes? In the Great Recession, a lot of people walked away from their homes because as housing values came down, they didn't have any equity. They bought these houses with zero down, and then they didn't have any equity in the home, so they walked away from their homes. So in this case, we're looking at something different. We have the average American has 50% equity in their home, actually 53%. So we calculate that by 37% of all homeowners own their homes free and clear, and 26%, 26.7% of homes with mortgages have at least 50% equity. So where that leaves us is that we are in this position where the housing market still has really high demand, and we still have a shortage of homes. And due to the fact that people have equity in their homes, we don't see people walking away from their homes and turning them back over to the bank and putting their keys in an envelope and mailing them to the bank as happened in 2007 and 2008. So we're just not foreseeing that based on the history. And then on top of that, interest rates are at 30-year lows, which is honestly making homes, they are cheaper to buy than ever. The prices are up, but with the low interest rates, we're seeing interest rates below 3% in many cases. That really affects what your monthly payment's going to be and keeps homes affordable. So that's what's going on with the real estate market right now, and I hope you guys are all staying home and staying safe and taking care of your family, and check in with your neighbors, check in with your friends, make sure everybody's doing okay, and we will get through this because we always do, and we're going to survive this and move on to thrive another day. Reid Schwartz with the Craig McKenzie team at Keller Williams, and there's my update on what's going on in the real estate market.